what's on the fall checklist? What do you want to find out about this team over the next couple weeks of practice?
I'm anxious to play these games. You know, we got 4 games this fall. That's pretty unusual to have the ability to do that. So the new guys that we're counting on helping this team in the spring, it's nice to have these guys get 3 or 4 games under their belt before it counts for real, because there's going to be jitters with new guys, and better that happens when it doesn't really count that much than when it counts a lot. So we're going to use these games as a way to get a lot of guys some experience that need experience. There's a lot of guys on this team that we know what they can do, so you won't see their faces as much in these fall games as you will the new guys.
Do you learn more in these games from person to, or player to player, or do you learn more about the collective, the team, I guess?
You know, you always want to, for your team to evolve over the course of time, so combination of both, you know. New guys are part of the team, so you got to try and develop them as much as you can, but along the way, it's all about the team winning the game too. So we talk about the team way more than we talk about the individuals, but we watch the individuals way more than we watch the team. So combination of both, but super excited to see some of these new guys play.
Who are those new guys that you're really excited for?
You know, Tyler Dones and Connor Hamilton are freshman position players that we feel like are got a chance to be really good players. On the mound, you know, we got guys like Christian Young, Nick Snyder, Tristan Hudson, that guys that nobody knows who they are yet, but we feel like they have really good futures here, and we need them to help right away. You know, we've still got a lot of pitchers out this fall from last spring that we're going real easy with, so all these new guys are going to get plenty of opportunity to show how good they are.
You say you need new guys to help and young guys to fill in. A lot of your starting 9 is made up of a lot of returners. How different does that make this year when preparing for the season?
You know, you like the experience factor. You know, these guys have 2 years ago we were the youngest team in the nation when they were all freshmen, and now they're all juniors. You know, so it's time for them to start getting some results, and that's really what experienced teams are supposed to do. They're supposed to win. So these guys have been together long enough now, and coming off of the success from last year, fall practice is going really well so far, and hopefully these guys will get together and become leaders and bring these young guys along, and we'll have another great year.
How are Dotson and Grove coming along in their rehabs?
Good, as expected. You know, Dotson appears to be ahead of schedule. He threw yesterday and looked really good throwing. Ball's coming out of his hand good, but you know, time will tell on both of those guys. There's going to be good days and bad days like there is with any rehab, but still super excited about both of those guys.
How do you, with Grove being a long-term situation, how do you keep him involved and still keep him a part of the team even though he may not be in next year's plans?
Keeping Michael Grove as a part of the team is the least of my worries. He does that on his own. He's a lot of guys can be leaders when they're out there doing great every day on the field. That's pretty easy, but he's a great leader without ever throwing a baseball. You know, he's the guy that takes care of this team off the field and in the clubhouse and the locker room, and he's very involved. He's chomping at the bit to get back there, but he's part of being a baseball player or a high-level pitcher like he is you got to deal with injuries and rehab, and he's tremendous at that. And coming off injury, you can tell how good these guys are going to be a lot of times just because of their makeup, how they're going to come off injury. So if that's any indication, he'll come back better than he was when he went down.
Can he almost be like a second or a third pitching coach in that sense, where he's going to be able to see everything and he'll be with the young guys and the old guys as well?
Yeah, I don't want to quite call him that because you get too many Indians and not enough Chiefs, so to speak. But he, there's a lot of times when these guys are by themselves in the hotels or in the apartments when they're talking baseball, and it's nice to have a guy on the team that reflects everything that the coaches are always saying and willing to help the younger guys. And I think not just Michael, but Jimmy Galuski and Darius and those guys are all doing a really good job of not being threatened by the new players in the program. They understand that we need these guys to help us win games and help us win regionals. So there's been a lot of teaching going on within the team, which is a really good sign.
When you had the staff opening come up in June, was Dave Serrano a guy that immediately was the top of your list?
Actually not. You know, I didn't know when Coach Matlock left if I was going to be the pitching coach and flip to that side of it, or if I was going to hire a pitching coach. So I actually called Coach Serrano to ask him about one of his assistants, if that guy would be interested in the job. And the longer we spoke, and he let me know that he had an interest in this job, then that changed the direction of the search almost immediately because of his high-level background and his experience and his, you know, the guy's one of the best pitching coaches that's ever walked the face of the earth, you know. So had an opportunity to get him. I had to go that direction, and couldn't have worked out better for the Mountaineers.
When you get a guy like Serrano's background, what's your recruiting pitch to him as you're trying to get him to come here?
You know, it really didn't need one. It's kind of interesting how it all went down because he interviewed at some other really high-level places. And you know, just like in recruiting, when that happens to a recruit, if he visits you and then visits other places, you kind of hold your breath wondering how it's going to go. But after his last interview, he called me up and said, I want to be a Mountaineer, man. I'm doing this because I want to win. And I feel like your program is ahead of some of these other programs as far as how close you are to really winning big here. And it basically sold himself. You know, with recruits, they come in here and you got to tell them all about college baseball and what it's like. That's the guy that knows. You know, he's been coaching for 30 years, and for him to choose the Mountaineers over some SEC schools and some Pac-12 schools says a lot about the state of our program right now.
A couple of years in the past, you've been maybe a game or two away from the NCAA tournament. You know, one or two games slip away, and that was the difference. Can you still have that message with the team this year that maybe, you know, okay, one or two more wins, we could have hosted a super regional last year?
Yeah, there's no doubt, and that's actually very true. You know, we win one more game. We're playing a regional in Morgantown here, and you even look at the last game of the season that we lost to Wake Forest. You know, you get another hit here, another hit there, a pitcher who's a little more rested. So you go back to the process and the culture and talk about did you sleep well toward the end of the year? Did you eat right? Did you put everything into conditioning and weightlifting? And those little things, that's when they matter at the end of the season, when the season's on the line. So that experience was great for us, and I think because of that experience, fall practice has really taken on a whole new meaning with this crowd because they know that we're just one game away from doing something special. So, yeah, you can't. Experience is the best teacher, and that was super valuable for us.